All right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the HealthTech Arkansas kickoff. This is a really big day for us in HealthTech Arkansas. We work all year round to try to get a cohort ready for this evening where we can do this great big kickoff. So first of all, thanks to everyone for joining us. So what I'd like to do first is I'm just going to tell everybody a little bit about HealthTech Arkansas. Emily's going to share her screen, and we're going to bring up a few slides about HealthTech Arkansas, and then we have a few fantastic speakers who are going to talk to you briefly about their role and their work with HealthTech Arkansas and their own organizations, and then we're going to conclude with short pitches from each of the 5 companies that have been selected for the cohort this year. So let's go ahead and jump into the slides. So I'm going to start with first a big thank you to all of our hospital partners, which you see listed on the screen right now. So kind of the genesis of HealthTech Arkansas, 3 years ago, we started this program. We had 2 logos on this page. We had Arkansas Heart Hospital and UAMS, which is our academic medical center here. And without really knowing anything about us at all or about what an accelerator was, they took a giant leap of faith and they made a commitment that they would conduct pilot projects with the 5 or 6 companies we chose for our inaugural cohort at HealthTech Arkansas. That, in retrospect, turned out to be fortuitous and a really big decision because it differentiated us nationally. We are now still the only program in the country that guarantees pilot projects and clinical trials for early stage healthcare companies bringing new technologies to market. So that was fantastic. We started with those 2 in 2019. Last year, we expanded to 9 different organizations. This year, we're now at 11. So you see all 11 of those logos. And so we hope to expand again in 2021. But it's really the work of these providers that we believe are world-class that makes a true difference in working with these early stage companies and introducing new technologies to Arkansas. So our team, I can't think of 4 more talented people up and down the line to work with in the HealthTech Arkansas team. At our core, we are a clinical program. So the work of Dr. Stephanie Benton and Amy Hester in working with these early stage companies that we find around the country, helping them understand how they interact with hospitals, how they structure their pilot projects. That work is critical for us and obviously is a key component of what we do. I often say I do the most work at HealthTech Arkansas, but our clinical folks are the most important folks at HealthTech Arkansas because they really are the backbone of what we do. Emily and Alyssa basically keep the trains running on time. And in fact, Emily is controlling this entire webinar right now. So we are in her hands. And it's just a great team that we have assembled here at HealthTech Arkansas. So we actually have 2 program tracks. The one that is that's most familiar to people is really the work with our out-of-state companies, where we recruit companies around the world. We choose a very select number of them each year. We chose 5 this year. We guarantee each of those 5 companies 2 different pilot projects with our Arkansas providers, and we invest $75,000 up front in those. But in addition to that, very public work we do with these out-of-state companies, we also have an Arkansas track that is just as important to us, and that is we work with Arkansas-based healthcare startups and guide them, mentor them, and give them whatever they need to succeed, including introducing those folks to our hospital partners as well. That clinical engagement is really critical to their success. So we spend a lot of time working with those Arkansas-based startups, which I'll tell you about in just a minute. All right, so our impact metrics. Over the first 2 years of our program, 2018 and 2019, we've conducted over 25 pilot projects and clinical trials in the first 2 years with those 12 companies. We've assisted 13 Arkansas-based healthcare startups, some of those intensively, the work that we've done with those. We've recruited 30 new Arkansans as early stage investors into our 2 different HealthTech Arkansas funds, and we've invested in 16 companies to date. So we've been very, very busy for a 3-year program. So our clinical advisory board, we have two different boards. The first one, you'll see these folks. These are 7 clinicians around the state of Arkansas who all serve in various roles at their hospitals. They do a lot of work for us, and we can't tell you how much we appreciate the work that they do. So to give you a quick example of that, we selected 18 finalists out of our applicant pool this year, and this group of 7 people conducted Zoom video conference interviews with all 18 applicants. So submitted those ideas around their organizations and collected the support and ultimately chose the 5 companies that got into the program this year. So asking people who are that busy to commit this much time to a program like ours is a big ask. And I think the fact that they do that each year is indicative of hopefully the value they see with HealthTech Arkansas and what we're doing for them. We also have a strategic advisory board. It includes 2 of our local hospital executives here inside the state, matched with 4 people from around the country who are just doing exceptional things in healthcare innovation. So we have 2 healthcare venture capital partners. We have another accelerator director in Nick Doherty from Mass Challenge in Boston. And we have Meg Barron, who is director of digital health strategy for the American Medical Association. So this strategic advisory board opens lots and lots of doors for us. They send us applicants from around the country, and they do great work for us. So our applicant pool, it's really interesting. In the 3 years of doing this, we have expanded our applicant pool each year. This year we had 183 applications from 14 countries. I don't know where or how some of these folks find us, but they do. That applicant pool, next slide, is you'll see from that applicant pool, this is where our cohort is in 2020. So this includes our very first company from the state of Utah and our very first company from the state of Pennsylvania into the HealthTech Arkansas program. You'll get to hear pitches from all 5 of these companies in just a bit. Our program partners, this is just an exceptional group of companies around the country. They have been so helpful to us that it's really thought about next year. We're changing our business model. We will no longer have an open application process, primarily because the applicant pool is now so large that it's really difficult for us to make our way through that applicant pool. So because of the work of these program partners, next year we will be transitioning to a referral-only program where applicants to our program has to come through one of these program partners that you see here. We get our best companies every year from this group of companies and organizations. So it's been a perfect partnership for us. So the last thing I wanted to touch on is really the impact of our hospitals on the state of Arkansas and some of our challenges. Obviously, healthcare in Arkansas is a huge industry. There's 88,500 jobs. The total economic impact, which I think is just under half of that 11.5 billion, is direct payroll from our hospitals inside the state of Arkansas. Obviously, there's a huge economic impact to the work that our hospitals do here. However, with that, we also have health equity challenges, which you will see on the next slide. So more than 60% of Arkansas counties are medically underserved. That is a big challenge for us. So how does that manifest itself? So 24.7% of Arkansans report being in poor health compared to 18.4% nationally. And then if you look at both coronary heart disease, the mortality rate there, which is 33% higher in Arkansas than it is nationally, and the stroke mortality rate, which is about 27% higher. This points to the fact that we are a rural state. We have health equity challenges, and there are lots of fantastic organizations here that are working really hard to address that. We think at HealthTech Arkansas, we can contribute to this conversation. And the way we can do that is we will have an increasing focus in coming years on companies that we admit to the cohort, as well as the partnerships we establish nationally who can address the health equity challenges we face, primarily through digital health solutions, but with other innovations and other technologies as well. So we're really happy to be a part of that conversation and looking forward to making Arkansas a more equitable place where there's better access to care across the state. So that's a little bit about HealthTech Arkansas. So what I'd like to do is we have 3 speakers coming up. I'd like to introduce you the first one to a friend and colleague, Dr. Catherine Zavala. So I'm going to read just a very brief intro for Catherine. She's the COO of MedTech Innovator, a global competition and accelerator for medical device, digital health, and diagnostic companies. In 2016, she helped spin the nonprofit entity out of the venture capital firm where it was founded and has been instrumental in expanding the organization. To date, MedTech Innovator has supported 258 alumni that have gone on to raise over $1.9 billion in follow-on equity funding and achieved 11 acquisitions. Catherine previously held positions at the UCLA Technology Development Group, where she assisted with the commercialization of university technologies, and at Campbell Alliance, which is now Syneos Health, where she developed launch strategies for biopharma clients. Catherine received her bachelor's degree in molecular and cell biology and rhetoric from UC Berkeley and a PhD in molecular, cell, and developmental biology from UCLA. Catherine, that's a very impressive background. But more importantly to us at HealthTech Arkansas, 3 years ago, when we really didn't know what we were doing, trying to get an accelerator off the ground, Catherine really took us under her wing. She said, come out to LA, we'll introduce you to all of our startup companies, and we'll teach you about what we know about doing this sort of thing. And they have been fantastic. And I think over half of our companies in HealthTech Arkansas to date have come from the MedTech Innovator program. So Catherine, thank you for all of your help and assistance, and would love to hear your remarks now.
Great. Thank you, Jeff, for that introduction. I'm really excited to be part of this event today. I know it's a big deal. And so when you invited me to speak, I was thrilled to be able to offer some time to help you with that. Let me just, okay, great. So as Jeff introduced me, I'm the Chief Operating Officer at MedTech Innovator. I wanted to start off by talking about the need for entrepreneur support in the healthcare industry. As many of us know, innovating in the healthcare space is especially challenging. There are a lot of pieces of the puzzle that have to fall into place perfectly for a really great idea to get to the market where it can be a real benefit for patients. As we were forming MedTech Innovator, what we noticed early on is that the innovation pipeline is in crisis. There's not a lot of support or enough support for innovators. And additionally, they need to be on the radar of strategics and investors and healthcare providers that can provide them with the necessary capital, insight, and access to patients and where they can have the biggest impact. Also, we find that a lot of innovative products are delayed because, the teams don't have sophisticated backers or guidance, and they make mistakes that could be avoided. As a result, you see that patients that could benefit from these life-saving, life-altering technologies are not getting those technologies. And also, potential cost savings that could be there if a product makes it to market are not realized. Since MedTech Innovator was founded 7 years ago, our team has evaluated thousands of applications. Additionally, we've tracked over or hundreds of companies. And earlier this year, we released our top 10 reasons of why we see healthcare startups fail. As you skim through some of these bullet points, you'll notice that it's often not because of the technology. A lot of times it's because there's a lack of knowledge or understanding, or it might not be about the right strategy. And I think it's okay for innovators not to understand everything right off the bat. What's important for them is to be able to find places where they can go to get the right answers. We often hear the term, it takes a village for a startup to be successful. And we find that at MedTech Innovator, we've tried to create that village. So at the bottom here, you can see some of the members of our village, our corporate partners who provide not only financial support to our organization, but probably more importantly, their time to mentor the companies that come through our program. So together, we've supported 258 alumni across the world. And they've brought 60 products to market, as Jeff mentioned in my introduction, and we've raised over $2 billion in follow-on equity funding. At MedTech Innovator, some of the resources that we offer are funding through non-dilutive cash prizes, visibility across some of the largest stages in the industry, and mentorship again through those corporate partners. But we also consider HealthTech Arkansas as a big part of our village. You know, one of the biggest needs that startups have when they come through our program is access to healthcare partners. So seeing what HealthTech Arkansas has been able to do, and now having 11 hospital partners that can guarantee 2 pilots or 2 clinical studies to the startups that come through the program, is not only unique, but quite meaningful in helping these companies move the needle. As Jeff noted, we have had quite a number of our alumni that have become part of the HTA portfolio. These are just a few of them, and I would say that they're some of the most successful ones we've seen. As we all know, 2 Cents was acquired earlier this year by one of the strategics. So anyway, I wanted to leave off by just saying, you know, that we recognize the importance that HTA is doing, and we're really proud to be part of that and look forward to many more years of working together to transform healthcare.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Catherine. All right, so next we're going to hear from Marcy Doderer. So I'd like to give you just a brief intro to Marcy, who has served as president and CEO of Arkansas Children's since July of 2013. Under Marcy's leadership, Arkansas Children's transformed from 1 hospital into the state's only pediatric health system, with 2 hospitals, a research institute, a philanthropic foundation, regional clinics and alliances, telemedicine, and statewide outreach programs. She has led the organization with an unwavering focus on the core values of safety, teamwork, compassion, and excellence. Marcy is a fellow in the American College of Healthcare Executives and active in many professional organizations. She has served on various boards and committees at the state and national level aimed at improving child health. Within Arkansas, Marcy serves on the executive committee for the Little Rock Chamber of Commerce, is a member of 50 for the Future, as well as sits on the board of Healthy Active Arkansas. As a professional and a mom, Marcy is passionate about improving child health in Arkansas. She has been bold to say, Arkansas Children's will not stop our pursuit of improving child health until Arkansas is the safest, healthiest place to be a child. So Marcy, thank you for your support of HealthTech Arkansas, and welcome to our kickoff. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Jeff. I really appreciate seeing you all today. We are so grateful for HealthTech Arkansas and being part of this kickoff event, and also grateful that Governor Hutchinson is here with us this evening and for his support of these endeavors. At Arkansas Children's, we're privileged to serve the over 700,000 children who live across Arkansas. And as Jeff said, we're committed to improving child health until Arkansas can actually be the safest, healthiest place to be a child. And as the only pediatric health system in Arkansas, we keep children at the center of everything we do. We continue to evolve as a health system to meet the changing needs of the children of Arkansas and beyond. We believe that integrating innovation across Arkansas Children's is essential to realizing a healthier tomorrow, and we're committed to encouraging innovation both within our team at Arkansas Children's and also through partnerships like this one with HealthTech Arkansas. Arkansas Children's joined HealthTech Arkansas in 2019 because we recognize that working with accomplished early stage companies that are focused on bringing new technologies to market is one way for us to innovate. We are committed to the success of HealthTech Arkansas and currently have employee representatives on both of those boards that you saw, the Strategic Advisory Board and the Clinical Advisory Board. And since partnering with HealthTech Arkansas, Arkansas Children's has been impressed with some of the quality companies that have been involved to date. We're currently conducting 2 pilot processes on our own campus and clinical studies with 2 of these companies, Zato and Astarte. And innovation is also a critical piece of the Arkansas Children's 2020 to 2025 strategic plan, with the intent of becoming one of the most innovative pediatric spaces in the country. With that in mind, we're partnering with HealthTech Arkansas and 4 other Arkansas organizations to create and build a pediatric innovation ecosystem. The focus for this innovation work is on the development of therapeutics, diagnostics, medical devices, digital health, and biological tools related to improving child health outcomes. In addition, we also know that having an active, nationally recognized research program will allow us to attract those top physicians, scientists, and other technology experts who can come and join our staff. Recently, we announced the exciting news that Dr. Pete Morani is joining our team as our Senior Vice President and Chief Research Officer of Arkansas Children's, as well as being the President of the Arkansas Children's Research Institute. He's joining us from the University of Colorado and Children's Hospital of Colorado, and has a strong track record with NIH funding and a host of other research endeavors. And while you might not see the automatic intersection of research and innovation, not seeing that they are always intrinsically linked, Dr. Morani will play a critical role in ensuring we succeed in our 5-year strategic plan of fully integrating both research and innovation across our health system. At Arkansas Children's, we're committed to the future of our work in innovation and look forward to a continued partnership with HealthTech Arkansas as we both work to fulfill that promise of unprecedented child health defined and delivered. So thanks for letting us be a part of this today, for being part of the leadership, by being on the boards, for hosting pilots within our own health system. We look forward to continued partnership and some great work that will come from HealthTech Arkansas as we go on. Thank you, Jeff.
Well, thank you, Marcy. That was fantastic. And yes, we are very grateful to be a part of the very focused work on a pediatric innovation center. You and Barry Brady have kept us very busy in that endeavor in the last few months. So I think we're doing some good things and more great work to come. All right, so the last speaker before we get into our cohort companies is our esteemed governor. So please allow me to read just a quick bio for Governor Hutchinson. Asa Hutchinson is the 46th governor of the state of Arkansas. In 2018, he was reelected with 65% of the vote, having received more votes than any other candidate for governor in the state's history. He has won recognition for the state as a leader in computer science education and signed into law the biggest and second biggest income tax cut in Arkansas state history. Under his economic development policies, nearly 100,000 more people are working in Arkansas than when he took office, and he has signed incentive agreements with more than 400 companies that were expanding or opening in the state. Before being elected governor, Asa Hutchinson served as director of the DEA and as undersecretary of Homeland Security. Voters in Arkansas's 3rd District also elected him to Congress 3 times. A graduate of the University of Arkansas Law School, Asa Hutchinson, at age 31, was appointed by President Reagan as the nation's youngest U.S. attorney. He and his wife, Susan, have been married for more than 40 years. They have 4 children and 6 grandchildren. Of his many initiatives, we in the entrepreneurial community, I think, are especially grateful to you, Governor, for your development of the state accelerator grant program, which allows those of us in healthcare and Wayne Miller and the FinTech program and a number of other industries to drive innovation in the state. That has obviously been profoundly impactful to us in these industries to introduce this type of innovation to the state of Arkansas. So thank you, Governor, and we look forward to hearing your remarks.
Thank you, Jeff, and thank HealthTech Arkansas for making me look good. This accelerator program is one of the stars of the universe. What you all have done in bringing medical technology together and startup companies, partnering with our hospitals, it's really exciting for me to see this investment in accelerator programs to have this kind of impact on our state and on healthcare innovation. And Catherine, thank you for your partnership. I loved hearing your remarks and your support for this. And I also welcome the 5 health tech companies that have been selected for this accelerator program. I saw that a number of them were from California. And whenever I first got elected governor, I thought it was a good idea to go out to Silicon Valley to recruit companies to Arkansas. Tech companies. Well, it didn't take me long to realize all they wanted was our talent out of Arkansas, and they weren't going to move. So we had to do 2 things in our state. And that was to develop the tech talent through education, and then also to develop our own accelerator programs, our own tech universe here. And because of HealthTech Arkansas, we've had a good start on that. I like to think of Arkansas as a growing micro hub of technology companies. And if you look deep, whether it's in the financial sector, whether it is in retail and logistics, or whether it is in healthcare, you see technology companies blossoming here in this state. In order to feed that, of course, you have to have the talent. And we were the first state that mandated computer coding to be taught in every high school in Arkansas. And that has resulted in a infusion of technology talent coming out of our high schools, filling our higher education. We wanted to accelerate that more, so we had an update to that, a new task force that made recommendations that said we're not only going to be a national leader in terms of offering it, we're going to make it as part of a graduation credit to take computer science. And whenever you do that, you're going to greatly accelerate the student engagement. You're also going to be required, as we're committed to do, to put computer science teachers in every high school in Arkansas. That is a big leap, and we're going to be making that because we see the technology companies being able to thrive with that kind of talent that we will produce. We did invest in the accelerator programs. We'll continue to do that because of the results that we see with this group. I want to thank Marcy and her leadership with pediatric health. What a great asset Arkansas Children's Hospital is for our state, and also recognize the other hospitals that are participating in this. It shows the strength of our medical community. And finally, I want to just thank all the hospitals for what they've done during our challenges with COVID. You've kept us going straight. You've partnered well together. There's nothing like what we've seen with our hospitals in the coordination. And because of that, we're managing it well. We're keeping our economy moving. People are plowing through this. And I think what we learned in Arkansas is that every business is an essential business. And we're trying to keep our economy going at the same time as we manage our health care. So Jeff, I'll turn it back to you. Exciting to see the companies that you brought together for this accelerator.
Great. Thank you so much, Governor. You know, you're exactly right. Entrepreneurship is a long-term investment. It takes investment of capital and time, and these things don't happen overnight. So I think the governor's, decision to make two different investments. One is to require computer coding in every school in Arkansas, but also to place a computer science teacher in every high school in Arkansas. Those are big commitments, and they're long-term. And I can't help but think that that those types of investments and those decisions won't pay off for us in the long run as we create our own talent here. So thanks for all of your leadership there. All right, so now let's hear from our companies that we selected this year. So the first company we'll hear from, Tracy Warren, who is the CEO of Astardi Medical in Pennsylvania. Tracy, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Jeff. Just want to make sure you can see and hear. Are we good? Good evening, everyone. I am Tracy Warren, co-founder and CEO of Astardi Medical. And we have developed a clinical decision support platform to help our nation's most vulnerable patients, those being preterm infants who are cared for in the neonatal intensive care unit. Thanks to modern technology, we can survive infants as early as 22 weeks gestation. And while these babies survive, they actually struggle to thrive. Infants born under 32 weeks spend 77 days on average, and yet still 50% experience growth failure and more than 40% developmental delays and disability. And these challenges aren't just for the families and the patients, but also for the clinicians and hospitals who care for them. So despite guidelines in feeding and nutrition, substantial practice variability persists. And electronic medical records and the intensity of care create substantial workflow challenges for clinical teams. Similarly, for hospitals who are facing increased pressures from payers on quality reporting, and at the same time battling the lack of standards for feeding and nutrition for this patient population. So how can we help? We've developed NIC Nutrition, and feeding and clinical decision support platform to help the neonatal intensive care unit by pulling data from their electronic medical record, integrating their feeding protocol, and establishing a standardized way of feeding infants in the NICU. We create both a unit level reporting We have patient-level reporting and can track all the way to macronutrient level planning. By doing this, we create standardization of care, streamline reporting, and reduce length of stay, getting our patients home to their families sooner. We've been fortunate to raise 2 rounds of financing last year, totaling about $8.5 million, which helped us grow our team and recruit very notable thought leader, Dr. Bill Hay, as our Chief Medical Officer. We've signed our first hospital and launched NICU Nutrition this summer through a series of educational webinars, which has developed our sales pipeline. In the last 90 days, we've provided proposals to nearly 20 NICUs across the country. And while I don't have time to go into it today, we're also making our way into precision nutrition for this patient population, having developed the largest gut health data set, including microbiome and clinical data for preterm infants, a platform we call NICU Biome. We're very excited to be part of the program and want to thank everyone for their time.
Thank you, Tracy. That was fantastic. So we look forward to having you in Arkansas very soon. All right, so next up we have Christian Atria, who is the CEO of InView Medical. So, Christian?
All right, let's see if you hear me, and I'm trying to present my slide. Give me a sec. All right. Thanks for the intro. My name is Christian Atria. I'm the founder and CEO of InView Medical. At InView, our mission is to make surgery safer, faster, and consistently accurate. So we are a team that comes from the industry. We used to work for GE Healthcare doing medical imaging systems. And we were exposed very early to spinal surgery as a challenge. And many of you may know it's a major challenge, of course. There's a lot of people with chronic back pain in the US. There's 500,000 procedures every year in the US. And we're spending a lot of money in this type of per year. How accurate are those surgeries? Well, not that successful surgeries. There's a readmission rate of 7%, a long-term reoperation rate of 16%. And that obviously is painful for patients. That means they have to go back to the hospital within 30 days. It means they need to be reoperated. And if they're not reoperated, they're managing their pain for the years to follow. And of course, someone has to pay all this. So one of the major challenges in this procedure is the accurate placement of the implants. And the basic problem is that surgery is a 3D problem. It's still addressed with a lot of 2D imaging and 2D technologies. And it's not that we have poor surgeons, it's that those surgeons have just poor tools to help them do the right procedure. So for example, on the image on the right here, you see that that's what the surgeon sees during the surgical procedure. He can see the placement of an implant from one perspective or from a different perspective in plain X-rays. And really what they need to see is 3D. If they see 3D, then they can see exactly where those implants are placed in the spine of the patient. And this is a problem of accuracy that goes beyond spine. It's in all orthopedic type of procedures. So we decided to take a look at this problem and approach it in a different way. And as I said earlier, coming from the industry, we identified imaging as being the weak link here. And we decided to come up with a new way to create images. And basically, we understood that we needed 3D imaging, but we need, for this 3D imaging to be adopted, we need this to be efficient and fast. So we created a new type of scanner that can be used in the operating room and that can image the patient and what the surgeon is doing throughout the procedure, just in a few seconds by pushing a button and getting a 3D image like a CT scan. So that's our scanner here on the left. And then the output of this imaging process is basically a 3D reconstruction of the whole anatomy so that the surgeon can control what he's doing. And that's possible thanks to new technologies like AI image reconstruction that allow to gather a little bit of data and then also fill the gaps and provide the right type of imaging that the surgeon needs. In terms of traction, we've been lucky to have some VC funding, also some federal funding. We have a technology, we're building a very strong pipeline in terms of IP protection and patents. And we cleared the technology, so it's FDA cleared, ready to go into the clinical setting. And then as a company for us, our next challenge is to go from the lab into the operating room and to have the pilots. So for us, the program with HealthTech Arkansas was a perfect match. We've been partnering with leading clinical institutions around the US, and we're really happy to start this collaboration with Arkansas. So this is NView Medical. We're addressing critical needs in surgery. We're happy to partner with Arkansas providers and together to prove the value of this breakthrough imaging. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, Christian. All right, next up we have Neil Ray, who is the CEO of Raydiant Oximetry. Neil?
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Neil Ray. I'm a pediatric anesthesiologist, CEO, and founder of Raydiant Oximetry. And our mission is to improve outcomes for mothers and babies during childbirth by developing a better fetal monitor. The reason why we need to develop a better fetal monitor is current fetal heart rate monitoring technology has an accuracy of a coin toss in predicting fetal distress. This is a technology that's been around for over 50 years. It looks at the baby's heart rate changes with uterine contractions to determine if the baby's in trouble or not. The problem is that this technology is difficult to interpret and has a high false positive and false negative rate. False positives lead to the unnecessary overuse of C-sections, while false negatives lead to babies that are in trouble fail to being identified and eventually developing birth injury. If you look at what's happened in childbirth in the United States over the past 40 years, C-section rates have gone up 400% to where 1 in every 3 women will get a C-section delivery for the birth of her baby, and 50% of these are deemed medically unnecessary. At the same time, if you look at newborn birth injury, the rates have been essentially stagnant over the past 40 years. And to compound matters, today we have a crisis in the United States where maternal mortality is on the rise. It's more dangerous today to give birth in the United States than it is anywhere else in the developed world. When you look at why this is happening, most experts agree that the overuse of C-sections and associated complications such as abnormal placentation and postpartum hemorrhage are reasons why we have this unfortunate situation. So at Raydiant Oximetry, we're developing a new type of fetal monitor, one that doesn't look at the baby's heart rate changes, but rather how much oxygen is in the baby's blood. Our technology is completely non-invasive, and we can tell you how much oxygen is in the baby's blood during labor and delivery. Our company is 4 years old, and to date, we've established a proof of concept in pregnant sheep. We've also obtained our first in-human data through IRB-approved clinical studies. We have breakthrough status from the FDA for expedited approval. The FDA has looked at our data and our value proposition and recognizes what we're trying to solve serves a large unmet clinical need for a large patient population, and they're going to help us expedite our entry into the marketplace. We also have 4 issued patents, multiple SBIR grants from the NIH and NSF. We've closed a Series A round of $7.5 million. Our next major goal is to complete a 60-patient pilot study during labor and delivery. What we want to show is that a baby with normal oxygenation is born healthy, as opposed to a baby with low oxygenation is born in distress. If we can show this, we believe that our technology will become the standard of care for labor and delivery throughout the developed world and fundamentally change how babies are birthed. We're excited to partner with HealthTech Arkansas in this endeavor to complete our next major challenge of this upcoming pilot study. Thank you.
Thank you, Neil. That was very good. All right, next up we have Ray Liu from VenaVitals.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, everyone. It's a very honor to be here today. And my name is Ray Liu. I'm CEO and co-founder of VenaVitals. At VenaVitals, we make a small wearable device that monitors blood pressure continuously. Now, blood pressure is one of the most important vital signs. It's the biggest indicator for cardiovascular disease, which is the #1 killer in the world. But for such an important measurement, our tools today for monitoring blood pressure are extremely limiting. In order to get continuous beat-to-beat measurement, we have to do an arterial line, which involves stabbing a catheter with a transducer on the end of it and placing that directly into the artery. The only other option we have, we're all familiar with, which is a traditional blood pressure cuff. And that provides only snapshots in time, even though our blood pressures are constantly changing. So one of our anesthesiologists actually put it best in saying that the arterial line is too invasive and the cuff is an insult to the hemodynamics. Now at VenaVitals, we've developed a way to non-invasively capture this continuous beat-to-beat blood pressure information and transmit it wirelessly to a central station or to a patient monitor or mobile device. And the way it works is by the same mechanism that we're able to use our own fingers to feel our own pulse. We use a soft skin conforming sensor that's able to detect the small pressure fluctuations as the blood is flowing through your artery and pushing up against your arterial walls, which then applies pressure to your skin. Our early test results indicate that our device is potentially as accurate as an arterial line. And to show you an example, this is a patient who came in for a nasal sinus surgery to remove a tumor from his skull. Now he's on a ventilator and that ventilator is controlling his breathing, and you can see that even the breathing is impacting his true blood pressure as measured by the arterial line in the chart on top. In the chart below, in our device, we're capturing each and every breath, every single heartbeat, as well as all of the fluctuations in his blood pressure throughout the duration of the surgery. So what this demonstrates is that we have the potential to, number one, potentially replace an invasive procedure that's currently performed millions of times in the US each year. And also, number two, because of our form factor, our ease of use and low cost, for the first time, we have the potential to bring continuous beat-to-beat blood pressure monitoring outside of the critical care setting into other clinical applications, as well as outside the hospital. And so we're very excited to have the opportunity to join HealthTech Arkansas and work with a phenomenal group of health systems to further expand our clinical studies and be able to test the potential of our technology as well as determine the limitations. So thank you very much. We are VenaVitals.
Thank you, Ray, very much. You know, one of the things that I love about our cohort companies is that these are really big, ambitious solutions that they're trying to bring to market. They are not tweak around the margin types of things. So I think this is, VenaVitals is a good example of that, is you know, a company that's fundamentally trying to transform the way the most important vital sign is measured. And if they're successful doing that, I think it's going to be fantastic for HealthTech Arkansas and our investors that we were able to participate in that. All right, so the last speaker is Ashwin Gunashekhar, who is the CEO of Zeto. So Ashwin, welcome, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Jeff. And thanks. It's an honor to be here and be invited by HealthTech Arkansas. My name is Ashwin Gunashekhar. I'm the founder and CEO at Zeto, and we are about providing the most seamless EEG experience to healthcare facilities. EEG, or electroencephalography, is measuring brain waves on the scalp. It is the gold standard diagnosis technique for conditions such as epilepsy, seizures, and sleep disorders, and has great potential for other conditions such as stroke, autism, and concussions, to name a few. However, EEG has essentially remained the same ever since it was invented back in 1924. And a trained EEG technician needs to measure and mark electrode locations, abrades the skin, glues each one of those wires onto the scalp, tethering the patient to a box. And moreover, if you look at the entire EEG value chain, it's not just acquisition of data that is broken, it is also accessing the data and interpreting the info. Needing a trained technician and the shortage of trained technicians is the single biggest problem affecting this important diagnostic technique from being available in a majority of hospitals and clinics. And yes, we do have a solution. Ours is the first and only device and cloud platform of its kind cleared by the FDA for clinical use. It is non-inferior to traditional EEG, does not need a trained technician, and patients love it. Beyond just the headset, which provides the 10x improvement in acquisition, we also solve the problems of accessing the data and interpretation by a neurologist through a cloud-connected platform with the real-time viewing of EEG and video, and availing of our EEG interpretation as a service. Those problems are solved, and the future of EEG looks bright. Our traction to date, we went commercial in March 2020 Despite the COVID slowdown, we just booked revenue of $800,000 and a strong pipeline of $4 million already. And we're hoping to have a breakout year commercially next year. Our product is a proven fit for any outpatient EEG in hospitals and neurology offices. And more so during COVID, because of the ease of use of the product and the cloud connected nature of it, the operator can actually step out and minimize exposure time to COVID. For us, press releases and testimonials by a growing list of big hospitals is very enduring. And we are excited to be serving patients in Arkansas and piloting our product through HTA and driving towards being the #1 EEG diagnostic platform of the world. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Ashwin, and thanks to everyone. So, obviously this is a different type of kickoff event. Our first 2 years, we had brought everyone to Little Rock, and we had a series of public events over 3 days, and all of our investors and all of our hospital folks were able to meet these companies in person. This year it's different, but the good news is that each one of these companies will be coming to Arkansas over the next few months, probably individually, one at a time, to meet with our hospital partners. So if you have any interest in interfacing with those companies and helping them or working with them at all, I would encourage any of you to reach out to the HealthTech Arkansas team. We're more than happy to make those connections. But we just appreciate everyone around the country who's part of our ecosystem who have contributed to our success so far. And we look forward to working with these 5 companies. So that is it. This is the official sign off for the evening. Thanks again, everyone. And we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.